It's hard to imagine American capitalism today without the union movement.
The strike is beginning to hurt not only the company, but its employees. Within it, we win.
It's what people say about the stock market, right? Bulls win, bears win, pigs never do. And that's true in collective bargaining as well.
People are following our campaign.
We just had sort of a divided workplace.
No contract, no work.
The future of business is always uncertain. It's unclear what role organized labor can and will play. What we can say based on historical hindsight is that it'll depend on how successfully workers are at banding together. As American companies, particularly manufacturing corporations, get larger over the course of the 1830s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, they bring together more and more workers under one roof. One of the important coming-of-age moments is the railroad strike of 1877, which becomes a nationwide event in which railroad workers from all different positions within the railroad industry mobilize together to protest wage cuts and other workplace issues. Over the course of the next several decades, the vision of unionization that has triumphed is that vision that came out of the American Federation of Labor in the late 19th century. One that basically makes peace with capitalism as the overarching economic order of the society, but tries to reallocate and rebalance power within it.
The stock market crash has come, and the Great Depression has begun.
The Great Depression completely changed the dynamics of industrial capitalism. You have millions of people who are struggling, who are looking for work. You have companies that are failing to stay afloat.
We have provided the machinery to restore our financial system.
The 1935 National Labor Relations Act, also known as the Wagner Act, which is passed during the New Deal and officially puts the federal government on record as recognizing the significance of labor unions.
Let industry and labor work together along the pathway of mutual respect.
In the winter of 1937, the United Auto Workers engineered what became known as the Flint, Michigan sit-down strike against General Motors.
Raw materials lie unused, and a fortune is lost daily as the sit-downers stay seated.
Never again will we work in this job under conditions as they have been in the past.
The ability of this company to produce automobiles dried up, and the company ultimately was pushed to sit down and negotiate with the United Auto Workers and recognize them as the legitimate voice of their workers. The modern labor movement, as it grew in the early 20th century, was overwhelmingly rooted in big traditional, what you might call smokestack industries. The existence of minimum wages, of workers' compensation laws, of other types of workplace protections, all had their origins in that period. One of the most important stories in American capitalism after World War II is the gradual and accelerating shift of industrial companies from the North and the Midwest to the South and into the Southwest. Labor is a critical part of that.
Ending the 12-year-old Wagner Act's reign as the nation's labor code, the legislation was a victory for co-authors Hartley and Taft.
The most common place for right-of-work laws to pass was in the American South. In states that did not have strong union movements, where unions weren't represented within companies, wages tended to remain lower. By the 1970s, things started to shift.
Congratulate you, sir.
In 1985, I received a telephone call from one of my colleagues, and he asked if I would have any interest in joining the National Labor Relations Board. Keeping in mind, he said that it was in his words, a long shot. I guess I was lucky enough to make the shot shorter.
You're all fired! Yeah!
During the Reagan administration, air traffic controllers went on strike.
The union demands are 17 times what had been agreed to.
The president responded by threatening and then proceeding to terminate individuals who went on strike because strikes by public employees were unlawful.
It sent a massive signal to everybody that the federal government, and especially the Reagan administration, was not going to automatically and always do whatever organized labor told it to do.
There are people who believe that the Reagan administration is responsible for accelerating anti-union behavior. As someone who had the opportunity to go through the process, no one ever suggested that I should rule against unions or rule in favor of employers. The decline in unionization. One of the contributing factors is not so much the air traffic controller strike, but that a new generation of employers understood the benefits of working more collaboratively with their employees without organization.
As the economy became increasingly rooted in services, as a combination of automation and globalization meant that there were fewer jobs in manufacturing compared to services, we saw a massive decline in the percentage of workers represented by unions that has continued to this day.
Starbucks workers are set to vote today on whether or not to authorize a strike.
The challenge is to find ways to unionize and mobilize people whose jobs are working as baristas or as clerks, positions where they don't have the same type of relationship to the production process as in earlier periods.
The difference now is that there's social media, whereas before you were door knocking and doing house visits, but a lot of the organizing is digital. This campaign has just been so visible, and I think it's only amplified other campaigns that are also organizing.
Around 20% of the membership of the United Auto Workers works in the higher education sector. UAW is responding really effectively to the changing American economy.
Also, we're in an ideological and political environment when the arguments against labor unions are still salient. And so when you do get votes by workers, whether or not to join a union, some of them do ask, is this something I actually believe in? Is this something that's worth the cost?
I received a call from a coworker saying that they wanted to form a union, asking me if I'd like to be involved. I said, not really interested. I don't think we need a union. A large portion of us have filed to decertify the union. It's a very young movement, and not necessarily representative of everybody in the workplace. Giving workers more of a choice as to whether they want to be represented on an individual level by a union, I think is truly, really important.
Working together in those instances where the workers freely and fairly choose unionization is an important component of an American business.
The more people are attracted to sort of individual gain, the less effective they are as collective actors. I think those are the conditions, and that's the terrain on which these battles will be fought in the years ahead.